Hello, my little friends. It's so nice to see you again. Today, we are listening to one of the stories of King Arthur, the quest for the Grail. King Arthur was true to his word. His knights went around the country, righting wrongs and making sure that rich and powerful people did not treat poor people badly. Remember, in those days the rich often lived in big castles full of servants and soldiers, while the poor had to be content with miserable little huts made out of branches and twigs, with clay to fill in the gaps. Even the rich people, though, did not possess some of the things we take for granted. There were very few books, and of course no radio or television because such things had not yet been brought to this country. What is more, their castles were very cold in winter because they were draughty and it was impossible to heat them properly. They kept coal and wood fires burning day and night, but you were only really warm if you were close to the fire. What the rich and the poor had in common was their religion, for they were all Christians. They made a special point of going to church every Easter day, when we remember how Jesus rose from the dead after being crucified, and naturally, they knew all about the Last Supper he had with his disciples. It's the Last Supper that comes into this story of King Arthur. We call it the Last Supper because it was the very last meal that Jesus had with his 12 closest friends, whom we call the disciples. They met in an upstairs room and ate bread and drank wine. They drank the wine from a large cup which came to be known as the Holy Grail. After Jesus had gone to heaven, his followers looked after this cup because it reminded them of him. First, one of them took care of it, then another, but there came a time when few people knew exactly where it was. One day, King Arthur and his knights were seated at the round table in Camelot when they heard a very loud clap of thunder. Then a bright light filled the room as if sunlight were pouring through the ceiling. They were startled and a bit frightened. It was so weird and unexpected. The strangest thing of all was everyone thought the others looked different somehow. It wasn't simply that the light was so bright, but that it seemed to make all the good things inside them show up in their faces. Then the Holy Grail was carried into the room. It was covered with white silk, so they couldn't actually see it. But all the same, for some reason, they all seemed to know exactly what it was. And suddenly, everything seemed perfect. There was the smell of spring flowers in the air, and they all felt they could have everything in the world they had ever wanted. This feeling, however, was not to last because suddenly the grail disappeared. They couldn't tell how or where it went. One moment it was there, and the next it had vanished. The knights of the Round Table, who had been dumbstruck by these happenings, found their tongues once more. Where has it gone? They said. What does it all mean? And they were saddened to find that the smell of spring flowers was fading. King Arthur stood up. We must thank the Lord Jesus, he said, for showing this miracle to us. And one of his knights, Sir Gawain, said, "It was truly a marvelous sight. My only regret is that we didn't actually see the Holy Grail because it was covered by the white silk cloth. I now make a vow that I shall search for far and wide for the Grail, and not return to this court till I have seen it with my own eyes." Then one of the other knights stood up and said, "I do the same." So did a third knight, then a fourth, until nearly all the knights of the Round Table had made a solemn promise to travel the world in search of the Grail. This became known as the quest or search for the Grail. Then suddenly they realized how sad King Arthur was looking. "Oh, Gawain," he said with a sigh, "you can't imagine how miserable you've made me. For it means you'll all be going away and leaving me here. We'll never be together again, as we are now, because some of you are sure to die in your quest for the Grail." Sir Lancelot said, "If we do die, sir, it surely won't be as bad as you think. We all have to die someday, and to die while searching for the Grail would be an honor." King Arthur looked at him. "Ah, Lancelot," he said, "never has any king in the whole world had such good men with him as I've had this day at the Round Table. That's why I feel sad, because we're going our separate ways, and it means the end of our old comradeship." And nobody knew what to say. When Queen Guinevere found out what was happening, she too was sad, and so were the ladies of the court. "Why is my husband letting them do this?" asked the queen. But in her heart she knew why, for the king would never try to persuade anyone to break a promise. So the knights of the Round Table rode out of Camelot, and King Arthur was so sad that he shut himself in a room all on his own. And Queen Guinevere wept, and so did the ladies of the court. The knights met with many adventures on their travels. They journeyed through strange lands and saw some amazing sights. They crossed wide oceans, sailed along rivers, and went to the help of people in trouble. And at last Sir Lancelot came to a sea called Mordays. There he lay down on the shore and slept. And in his dream he heard a voice say, "Sir Lancelot, arise and go on board the first ship you see." He woke up at once and walked along the shore, and soon he came to a ship without any sails. As soon as he stepped aboard, he felt very peaceful and happy, much the same as he had felt when the Holy Grail had appeared. Who can blame him for staying there a while? And then he had a surprise, for one day, as he was out walking, who should he but one of the other knights of the Round Table, Sir Galahad. They were overjoyed, for they had missed one another, and all their other comrades. "Let's stay together," said Lancelot, "and continue our search for the Holy Grail." Galahad agreed at once, so they set off together. But then there came a day when a knight on a white horse appeared before them, and this knight told Galahad he must go the rest of the way on his own. So he said goodbye to Lancelot and continued his journey alone. At last, he came to a mighty castle called Carbonek, and there he found two other knights of the Round Table, Sir Percival and Sir Bors. "I've had such adventures," said Bors. "I've been through dark forests and to the tops of high mountains. It's a year and a half since I've been anywhere near a town or village." "I've had adventures too," said Galahad. "And by the shores of the sea I met Lancelot. We stayed together for a long time and fought wild beasts in the jungle." Then Percival told them stories he had heard on his journey, stories of Merlin the magician, who had prophesied that the Holy Grail would be seen only by knights of the Round Table. So Galahad and Bors and Percival went into the castle together. They passed through one heavy iron door after another, and were amazed that nobody tried to stop them. It was as though they were expected. And at last they found the Holy Grail, the cup that Jesus had held in his hands at the Last Supper. It was on a silver table, and 4 angels stood around it. They knelt before the Grail and said a prayer of thankfulness. This was My Little Friends. Oh, I'm so sleepy. However, if you do want to hear the next part, go on and search for the Arthur and the Sleeping Knight. See you later. Bye bye.